GPT-5 isn't smarter than GPT-4 in the way you think it is. OpenAI launched their most powerful model on August 7th, and after 3 weeks of testing it across 12 different business workflows, I can tell you the upgrade that matters has nothing to do with intelligence. Point. The businesses pulling ahead right now figured out something that hasn't been widely talked about, and it takes about 30 minutes to set up. Here's what's actually happening right now. Millions of business owners are logging into ChatGPT, seeing the GPT-5 badge, typing the same prompts they've always typed, and getting slightly better versions of the same generic responses. Point. They're spending 45 minutes a day on tasks that should take 5. They're copying and pasting between 6 different tabs. They're answering the same customer questions for the 20th time this month, manually, every single time. And the frustrating part? GPT-5 genuinely can fix this. It has the capability to reason through complex problems, chain multiple steps together, and execute real business logic, not just predict the next word in a sentence. But it can only do that if you give it something structured to work with. Right now, most people are handing a PhD level AI assistant a vague sentence and wondering why the output feels generic. The model upgraded, the inputs didn't. And that gap is costing hours every single week. The 1% have figured out something simple. GPT-5 isn't a chatbot anymore. It's a routing system. That means there are multiple AI models working together behind the scenes with a real-time router, like a traffic controller, deciding which model handles your request based on how complex it is. Give it a basic question and you get a quick response from the lightweight model. But give it a documented process with real context, your actual business logic, your specific steps, your edge cases, and it routes to the deep reasoning model. That's where the leverage lies. The setup I'm going to walk you through turns GPT-5 into an AI that actually knows your business. One workflow, 30 minutes, and you'll see how the top performers are using this tool differently than everyone else. Start by identifying the task that's both repetitive and annoying. The email you've written 40 times with minor variations. The weekly report you build manually every Monday. The question your team keeps asking that always has the same answer. That's your target. Repetition means there's a pattern, and patterns are exactly what AI automation can eliminate. Write it down in one specific sentence. Responding to pricing inquiries, or generating weekly client status updates. Vague descriptions like emails won't work here. The more specific you are, the better your results. The common mistake at this step is picking something complex to start with. Don't. Pick the task that annoys you most. That's usually the one with the clearest pattern. Now you're creating what's called an SOP, a standard operating procedure, which is really just written instructions for how this task gets done. You're answering 3 questions. What triggers this task, meaning what happens right before you start it? What are the actual steps you take? And what's the output when you're done? Bullet points in a Google Doc work fine. This isn't a masterpiece, it's a sketch. One task, one page, 10 to 15 minutes if you're being thorough. Here's where most people stop. They write the SOP and it sits in a folder. Instead, you're going to feed this documentation directly to GPT-5. Tell it, this is how we handle this task. I'll give you the input, you give me the output. You've just given the routing system real context. Now it triggers the deep reasoning mode and operates using your specific business logic, not generic advice it could give anyone. This is where everything connects into what's called a workflow, an automated sequence where one action triggers the next without you being involved. You'll need an automation platform. The main options are N8N, Make, which used to be called Integromat, and Zapier. Connect your input source dash dash. Whatever currently starts this task in your day, whether that's an incoming email, a form submission, or a Slack message. Route that input to GPT-5 along with your SOP as context. Then send the output wherever it needs to go. A reply gets drafted, a report gets generated, a task gets created in your project management tool. The common mistake here is overcomplicating the first build. Start with a simple 2-step workflow. Trigger comes in, AI processes it, output goes out. You can add complexity later once you trust the system. I ran this exact setup on client onboarding emails, the sequence that goes out when someone signs up. Before, I was spending 20 minutes customizing each sequence, doing it manually about 15 times per month. That's 5 hours of repetitive work. After, the workflow triggers when a new client hits our CRM. GPT-5 pulls their company info, references our onboarding SOP for tone and structure, and drafts the full sequence. I review it in 2 minutes and hit send. 5 hours down to 30 minutes per month. Same quality. Actually better because the AI doesn't forget steps when it's tired on a Friday afternoon. That's the difference between using AI as a search engine and using it as an actual team member. If you want to find exactly where these opportunities exist in your business, I built a free audit that takes about 10 minutes to complete. It walks you through identifying your highest leverage tasks, shows you which ones are actually automatable versus which ones need human judgment, and gives you a prioritized starting point based on time saved. It's the same diagnostic I use with consulting clients, and it's linked in the description below. GPT-5 is a routing system that rewards preparation. The real asset isn't the AI, it's the documentation you feed it. 30 minutes of setup today, hours back every week after. While most business owners are still prompting one-off questions and getting generic answers, you now know how to build systems that actually compound. That's the gap, and you're on the right side of it. First link in the description. Start today.